Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to another edition of Breaking News. Today is Friday, the 7th day of June, 2024. And as always, a number of important stories have come across the wire, which you and I need to know about because they fit precisely what the Bible has to say our world will be like at the time of the end. That is the second coming of Jesus Christ and the events that will precede it. Now, the first headline is going to sound a little strange to you if you've been following what we've been saying here every day. Here it is. Headline number one, Joe Biden to ABC News. I think Netanyahu is listening to me. U.S. President tells ABC News that Israel agreed to that is Biden's three-state ceasefire proposal, and that Netanyahu is publicly supportive of it. I think he's listening to me. They were going to go into Rafah full bore, invade all of Rafah, go into the city, take it out, move with full force. They haven't done that. But what they've done, they've agreed to a significant agreement, he said, in reference to the three-stage proposal he unveiled last Friday. Asked whether Netanyahu is supportive of the deal that is on the table, Biden replied publicly, said that he is. The president also said that Hamas is yet to accept the proposal. It's being backed by Egypt, backed by the Saudis, being backed by almost the whole Arab world. We'll see. It's a very difficult time. All right, this three-stage proposal, the headline was written wrong. It's a three-state proposal. The three-stage proposal, we talked about that last Friday. When Biden revealed it, it was horrible for Israel. It wasn't Israel's proposal. Basically, it had Israel declaring a ceasefire, then leaving Gaza, taking all its troops out of there, and for the next 6 weeks trying to get some type of permanent agreement, which Israel didn't agree to any of that. Netanyahu has never said publicly he agreed with it. Now, he has been hemming and hawing, unfortunately. He said publicly, well, we have a different agreement, but when pressed on what it is, he won't share it with anybody, what the exact proposal that Israel had, and that's causing some of the problems with his Israeli supporters. Just come out and say, what specifically have you agreed to and what won't you agree to anyway? But Biden says he's listening to me. Well, again, this guy doesn't make any sense because headline number two, Israel rejects U.S.-backed United Nations Security Council hostage ceasefire resolution. Now, here's the key, though. The Biden administration aims to paint Israel into a corner. If they remove the U.S. veto by removing the U.S. veto protecting Israel, of course they're going to remove any veto if they're the ones that present it to the Security Council. And so Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, as we've said, those two members of the leadership of the Likud party have threatened to leave the government if Netanyahu wavers on insisting that Hamas must be toppled, because Hamas must be toppled, as we've said that every day. Okay, here's the story. Israel has firmly rejected United Nations Security Council resolution based loosely on its own hostage ceasefire proposal. Now, very loosely. Prime Minister Netanyahu has faced considerable domestic and international pressure over the handling of negotiations with Hamas, particularly regarding the conditions for a potential ceasefire and hostage release. According to UN Ambassador Gilad Erdan, the wording of the resolution twists and waters down the Israeli language to appease the Hamas terror group. Okay, in other words, this is not Israel's resolution. This is not their proposal, but the United States is going to push that in front of the Security Council probably as early as Monday to vote on. And again, as Biden is promoting it and as the world sees it, well, this is Israel's resolution. Why wouldn't they accept it? But again, like we said, it is not Israel's resolution. It was proposed to the world last Friday by Biden right when the Shabbat, the Sabbath, was taking place in Israel. So Israel could not say anything publicly for 24 hours because everything shuts down. All right, now Hamas, they have yet to reply specifically to the proposal. There's a number of indications they're going to reject it. And that's headline number three. Hamas reportedly rejected deal offer, and here's why. The terror group issues a memorandum claiming that the Israeli proposal is different from the one presented by Biden and does not include the permanent ceasefire that Hamas demands, Arab media reports. Israel says it's not received an official response from Hamas. Now, Hamas rejected their Israeli proposal for the release of the hostages and a ceasefire agreement after, according to the terrorist organization, it became clear that it was fundamentally different from the proposal presented by U.S. President Joe Biden. Here again, Hamas said, look, what Israel's proposing is totally different. What Biden said last Friday, what Biden said Friday, we would willingly accept it. That looks real good. Sure, as Israel would leave Gaza immediately, have a 6-week ceasefire, then try and figure out how to work out a permanent ceasefire. And according to Hamas, they would not let any hostages go until Israel had left and a permanent ceasefire was in place, backed by the United States in writing. So Arab media is distributing what the terrorist organization is saying, but again, they have yet to publicly reject it. Now, here's why Israel must continue. Headline number 4, the IDF has actually completed their control over the Philadelphia axis. This is huge. The IDF has completed control over the Philadelphia axis in southern Gaza. A correspondent for the Qatari El Arabi El Jadid reported on Friday afternoon. The Israel military now reportedly has total control over the corridor from the Kerem Shalom crossing to the shore of the Mediterranean Sea. This is a developing story. Now, what this means is the entire border, the 8-mile, it's called the Philadelphia axis or the Philadelphia crossing, whatever you want to call it there. The 8-mile border there between Gaza and Egypt, which was held by Hamas in their control, Israel is there and has taken over the entire control of the border. Why this is important, there are a number of terror tunnels that they've already seen. They've destroyed something like 50 of them that go back and forth into Egypt, where Hamas can bring in money, they can bring in munitions, they can bring people, shuttle them back and forth. In other words, they will not be able to resupply themselves now through Egypt. And of course, their supplies are not unlimited. They have supplies and they have a lot of them and continue to fight the war. But the bottom line is their weapons factories have been destroyed. We saw the last one in Rafah was destroyed yesterday. They can't bring in new weapons. They can't build new weapons. Their army is diminishing. So this is huge in the favor of Israel to do what? To finish off the job, which they need to do. But Biden is trying his best to get Israel to stop, to cease fire, to cease fighting immediately. Again, like we've said, and all these commentators from Israel make it clear. Doesn't he want us to win? The answer is no, he does not. That should have been clear from the very beginning. Now, Biden in another, in the same story, said Netanyahu is listening to me on the Rafah operation. He goes on and waxes eloquently about how there's tension between him and Netanyahu. And Biden said if they go into Rafah full force with a big army and come in and with all the humanitarian problems there, then U.S. wouldn't support it. But he does support what they do so far because it's being pinpoint strikes in Rafah. And so it's not the major military operation that Israel wanted. And so basically the U.S. has cautiously said so far, they're okay, they're following what we have said. But again, Biden taking credit for what Israel is doing, for what Netanyahu is doing. He believes in his own mind that whatever he says, they will do. And Israel said, no, we're not going to do these things. All right. Now, headline 6 is horrific. Here's Guterres. Remember Antonio Guterres? He's the UN Secretary General. He's a huge anti-Semite. Well, what he did today, he informed the IDF attaché in Washington that he is actually adding Israel to a list of countries and groups that harm children in conflict zones. He's decided to put Israel on the blacklist of these countries, along with Russia, the terrorist organization ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Boko Haram. In other words, with Russia, what they're doing in the Ukraine, and then with terrorist organizations harming children, Israel is now put in the same category. And so all of Israel's efforts to convince Guterres to avoid this step was unsuccessful, and Israel will appear on the list that will be published next week. Again, sign 21 of our 25 signs. We're near the end. The entire world is getting against Israel. And this is the United Nations. And so they supposedly speak for the entire world, which of course they don't, but perception is reality, right? And here we go. And so as we continue to say, please, if you're new to us, take advantage of our resources. We have on our website, Educating Our World, our book, 25 Signs. We're near the end, one of 12 books on Bible prophecy. It's a free download. Everything is free on the site. We have 65 books and over 400 videos that you can download for free. They're great resources. And again, we want to emphasize each day when we do these videos, there is an explanation with what we have said, a summary there. So you need to click on the little button that says more, and then you see what we said, and it reminds you of what we have been saying, because this is cumulative, because every day the stories build upon one another. Now, our last headline is what Israel should do. We have another anniversary. We have another great reminder how Israel has worked in the past and how it should. 43 years ago, Operation Opera, Israel destroyed the Iraqi nuclear reactor in a daring and dangerous raid and established a core defense doctrine. The operation introduced what was called the Begin Doctrine, named after Menachem Begin, the Prime Minister of Deterrence, which affects Middle Eastern strategy to this day. Well, what happened? On June 7th, 1981, Israel carried out an unprecedented surprise airstrike against the Osiris nuclear research reactor at the Tuwaitha Nuclear Center in central Iraq, just 17 kilometers southeast of the city of Baghdad, capital city of Baghdad. The daring airstrike shocked not only the Iraqi government, which had only recently finished repairs on the site from a previous Iranian attack, but also the world. The attack not only shocked many Western countries, including the United States, which was caught off guard by its announcement after its successful completion, but it also marked the introduction of a new Israeli doctrine of deterrence. As Jerusalem Post correspondent and Middle East expert Seth Franson wrote in 2021, in only several minutes on that day, Israel established a doctrine that would act to prevent any existential threat involving weapons of mass destruction in the region. This became known as the Begin Doctrine after Prime Minister at the time, Menachem Begin. In its official explanation of the reasoning behind the strike, the government issued a statement that contained the following: on no account shall we permit an enemy to develop weapons of mass destruction against the people of Israel. We shall defend the citizens of Israel in good time and with all means at our disposal. In a press conference after the strike, Prime Minister Begin said he acted to prevent another Holocaust, close quote. And that's why Israel, sometime in the future, we've talked about this, will strike Iran's nuclear facilities there, much bigger than it did as a response after Iran attacked Israel with all the weapons and bombs just a few weeks ago. They will not let Iran have a nuclear weapon because they have said the reason for the weapon is to destroy the little Satan Israel, and then, of course, next the big Satan, United States. And whether the U.S. or anybody else says differently, they will do what needs to be done. And here comes the however. It seems Netanyahu will do it, although he waffles an awful lot on these things. But there are other leaders in Israel that are warming up, wanting to take Netanyahu's place that are more to the left that may not do something like this. So this is why it's important that this gets done. And as we said, if it does get done, if Iran's nuclear facility is taken out or pushed back a number of years, then again, what we'll have is possibly a limited war, some type of regional war in the Middle East between Iran and Israel, because Iran is the country that is, got the nuclear reactors going before it was the building it in Iraq. And by the way, the one in Iraq was built with North Korean technology and Iranian money. So even though it was in Iraq, it was an Iranian reactor, as it were. So anyway, what we've got here is we've had a couple of these anniversaries just recently: June 6th, D-Day, June 5th, the Jerusalem falling to the Israelis 57 years ago, the uniting of Jerusalem. And it's incidentally and coincidentally enough, today is the 43rd anniversary of the attack on that reactor in Iraq. So anyway, to sum up, Biden's public statements are contrary to Israel with respect to the ceasefire agreement. It seems what the U.S. is trying to do is ram this agreement down the UN Security Council to force Israel's hand. Biden is bragging that he has Netanyahu in agreement with respect to the proposal, which everything Netanyahu has said and Israel has said publicly is, no, we don't accept this proposal. And Hamas has still not answered as to whether or not they will accept the proposal. Israel will be blacklisted by the anti-Semitic Guterres, claiming that they are harming children in war zones. And finally, we learn another great lesson from the past: Israel's removal of an Iraqi nuclear reactor. Hopefully, the nation will show the same courage today, no matter what world opinion says. And all we can do is watch and pray. Again, take advantage of our resources. They're all free on our website, Educating Our World. We'll be back later today with an update of what's going on. Until then, as always, I'm Don Stewart. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Lord richly, richly bless.